Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth tutorial in this series of Complete Guide to Java. In this tutorial, we are going to see what is variables in Java. Variables are nothing but a value that is being stored in a memory, and that particular value will have some name. And this particular name, anytime it is being called, it will hold the values at that point of a time. That means in future, if that name is getting changed or assigned with some other value, then that particular value will be present in the memory. And going forward, when you call that particular name, the latest value that is being assigned to that name would be referred. So it would be quite complicated explanations in terms of programming, but in the simple layman terms, say for example, if you have a group of friends in your college and your universities or in your high school, you would be referring your friend name in your mind in such a way that when your friend picture comes, like you will be knowing his name, right? So this is getting stored in your memory, in your brain. So variable is nothing but a name that has been assigned to a specific value. In this aspect, your friend is a value and he is having some name that is getting stored in your memory. So variables are nothing but a particular value which is a combination of the reserved area in memory. In Java, there are two types of data types that is present, and for data types itself, I am going to have a separate topic, separate tutorial in future. Right now, I'm going to explain what are all the two data types. They are primitive data types and the non-primitive data types. Primitive data types are nothing but the implicit data type that is being present in Java, which is present before the variable name. For an example, if you are going to assign a value such as number to a variable, then it should be preceded with int. So like that, if you are going to have a character value, it should be preceded with string. So we will get into the details later, but take in mind that there are two data types are there. One is primitive data type and another one is non-primitive data types. And the types of variables that is present in Java is the local variable, instance variable, and static variable. We are going to see in detail each and every variable by doing a program. So let me get into the Eclipse. In Eclipse, in source folder, I'm going to create a new package and I'm going to name it as tutorial 4. And in this package, I'm going to create a new class and I'm going to name it as variable.java. Make sure whenever you're mentioning any name of a class, the first letter should be in caps and the rest remains in small. And I'm also going to have public static void main in order to be self-dependent. And then I'm going to click on finish, which would generate me a Java class. So inside this method, what I am going to do is I am going to declare a variable. So I am going to declare a variable as int number. Over here, int is nothing but a primitive data type, and number is the name of the variable, and I am going to assign a value 5. And I am also going to write a sysout to print the value of the variable in the console. So I'm going to mention that the local variable value is whatever the number that is being assigned. So I'm going to run this and show it to you. Once it is run, it is going to give what are all the contents here. Over here, the number I have assigned the value 5 and that is getting printed. So this is local variable. Right now, I'm going to create an instance variable. So I'm going to mention instance variable as the name of the variable, and I'm going to assign it with 10 as a number. And over here, you can see int is present, right? Which is nothing but an primitive data type as we used it for the local variable over here. And this particular instance variable cannot be directly accessed inside the static. Rather than you have to have a method. If you are clicking if you are just replacing this instance variable over here, what it will say is it should be a static. So any contents inside a static method should be a static because this is self-dependent and this is the starting point of the application, and it won't have access to this instance variable over here. And for that, what I am going to do is I'm going to write a method, and in this method what I am going to do is I am going to print in such a way, and I'm just planning to have a return type as void. I'll also explain what is return type in the upcoming tutorial. As of now, take void as a return type, and over here I'm going to mention instance variable as a value. So this particular method I'm going to call inside the static method, and let's see what happens. So it also again complains that what are the methods that you are declaring inside the static void main? It should be static as well. The reason why it is saying is this would be the starting point. This main method, right, which is at the line number 8, is the starting point of a program, and it won't have access to this. The one and only way of getting access is by creating a object called as a variable. So I am going to show you how I will be doing it. So I am going to do like this, new variable like that, and right now I am going to print var dot instance, which would create me an object, and right now this value would be printed. So I'm going to run the program. We will see what is happening. At first it would come over here, this is the start point, and it would print this line number 12 in the console, and later a variable class has created an object. For each and every object that is getting created, it would create a variable, instance variable equal to 10, and it would assign to the memory. And when I am calling variable, this is nothing but object dot instance, this particular method is getting accessed, this value is getting printed. So this is the flow actually. And the other variable that we have seen is nothing but the static variable, and this static variable can be accessed anywhere in the program, and even without the instantiation of the class, this can be accessed. So in the next line of the public static void main, which is going to be called before this variable is getting declared, the object is getting instantiated, I'm going to print this and see like what happens. And I have mentioned as a local variable, I'm going to replace with static, and similarly over here instead of local I'm going to mention it as instance variable like that. Going to save it, going to run as Java application program. You will see at first this one is executed, which is nothing but the local variable. And second, the static variable executed, and it is not complaining in the compiler way, or it is not complaining that as it is done for the instance variable, that it is not accessible like that, because without instantiation also it have access to this value, because we have mentioned it as a static. Static means only one copy of that particular name, the one copy would be available in the memory. So since it is mentioned as a static, this is getting printed, and later I am creating an object for this, and the instance variables is being called and executed. So that's all from this tutorial. So I'll recollect. So local variable is something like which is mentioned inside the block itself, and this is being printed. Static variable is nothing but which is present after the class outside a method, and if you mentioned as a static, even without the class is getting instantiated, that is nothing but without an object is getting created, you will have access to this particular variable. And after instantiating the class, that is nothing but after initiating the class, after an object is being created, you can have access to the instance variable by calling an instance method. And this instance method prints the instance variable that we have created over here. So that's all from this tutorial. In the upcoming tutorial, I'll come up with different topics. And thanks for watching. Please feel free to subscribe.